Okay, Grant. So many of our members want to know how you make your sourdough buns, but also I was asked this morning by Kathy, does GrantDad think the Gundry diet has helped his celiac disease? Not healed it exactly, but fewer difficulties.
Such a good question. And I don't really know that I have an honest answer for that because we have just stopped eating out basically since we started doing the Gundry diet. And that's been like 8 years. And even before then, we rarely ate out, but now kind of never happens. So I don't really get contaminated with or get glutenated. And I don't know. I don't know if it has or not. I'm guessing it has, and I'll tell you why. And I think it's nothing related to celiacs, but it's more related to just my overall feeling and my knee. And I know Marsha's talked about this before, but in just prior to COVID, I think it was right around COVID starting, I had to stop running because my knee was arthritic and painful, and I had an MRI done here in St. George, and then I went to a specialist in San Francisco. And when I walked in and sat on his table, and he went and pulled up my MRI, and he looked back at me and says, "Oh yeah, you walked in here, didn't you?" That just to kind of give you a sense to what my knee was like then. And now I did stop running. I mindfully care for my knee, and it took a couple years after that before I could start kind of hiking and everything again. But I have almost full flexibility in it. So I think the Gundry diet definitely has helped that. So if it's helping internally to help my knee, it's got to be helping my stomach too. But I really haven't noticed because I haven't been glutenated for a long time. So, maybe that is the answer in itself, that I haven't been glutenated, but that's because we eat at home.
Okay, now segue into your sourdough bread that everybody wants to know, your gluten-free sourdough bread.
Okay, well, that's my sourdough starter. And in the file section, there's a GrantDad's gluten and lectin-free bread recipe. And it's basically that exact recipe, one substitution. In that recipe, it says I use a half a cup of blanched almond flour and a half a cup of tiger nut flour. And I've substituted that for 1 cup of hazelnut flour. And then the 3/4 cup of tapioca starch is fine. I've been using arrowroot starch. I just find it gives it maybe a little bit fluffier texture to it. So those are the only changes from what's in there. But then on top of that, I will add in my sourdough starter. So do you want me to go through how I started this from scratch even?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so I don't remember the exact recipe when I started it, but it was like I think it was maybe half or 3/4 cup of rice flour, because you needed that to get it started. And it was some kind of, I think it was sugar. I typically use honey instead of sugar. And then you just let it sit out and for like a day, and plenty of recipes online how to get it started. And it took me maybe, I think it was at least a week, if not longer, to get it to take. Maybe it was almost 2 weeks to get just the rice flour part to start, where you could start to smell it, and it smelled, like it was getting to be sourdough. When I got to that point, then I slowly switched it over to sorghum. So when I would feed it, and basically when you feed it, you're gonna take what you have, your active sourdough, and this is kept in the fridge, which is why you don't see any bubbles in it, to prolong it. But what you're gonna do is take enough out so you have like a 1/4 cup left of just the starter. The other's called the discard, and that's what I end up using. And then with that, I added like 3/4 of rice and 1/4 of sorghum to make the switch over. I did that for a couple of feedings, and then went to half and half, and then to higher sorghum, and then finally stopped using rice flour altogether, and then just continue regenerated with sorghum. And it's been a long time now. I think it's been like 1.5 years that I've been using this, or at least a year. And now, do you want me to talk about how I use it each week?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I do is a couple days before, I know I'm going to make buns, and we typically make buns once a week or so, maybe a little bit, 8 to 10 days kind of thing. But 2 days before, what I'll do is I will basically stir this up and split it. And then I'm going to take what I've split it, I'm going to feed it with half a cup, or about 1/4 to half a cup of, depending how much you want, of sorghum. And I just stir that up and add equal parts water, And it needs to be like pancake batter. So when I stir it up and I lift it up, it should kind of slowly run off like pancake batter would. And then I take the main unit like this, and I will put it back in the fridge. And that's what this, I just pulled this out of the fridge to show you. The discard, then I'm gonna add like half a cup of sorghum to it, sorghum flour and water, and stir it and make sure the consistency is like that pancake batter. I let it sit out, and I do that for a day. The next day I'll feed it again. So I'm close to having a cup of sorghum flour, sorghum sourdough, and then I just add that to my mixture. And it's about the same consistency as what the bread mixture is when you've gone through the recipe. Just stir it all together, stir it in really well, and that's basically the recipe. And then from there I just form it into buns. When I've mixed it all together, dry ingredients, the first of the wet ingredients without the yeast, get that mixed really well together. Then I put in the sourdough leftovers, mix that really well. Then I put in basically the water with the yeast, mix that really well. Once that's all done, let it sit for a good 5 or 10 minutes. So kind of get it into a nice dough ball shape. Let it sit for about 5 minutes. And that's when I form it either into make a loaf of bread with it, or we're typically just using the buns. I kind of like the buns. And so I'll just form it into buns. Stretch it out, to the whatever size you want. You can make them flat. If you make them tall, whatever you want. We make little ones, we make bigger ones. And then you let it sit for about the amount of time it takes for your oven to heat up. And then cooking is about 40 minutes with, our oven, the way the temperature is on it, and that's at 350, and we're at 3,000 feet. So, depending on where you're at, it might vary a little bit, but you'll get used to it. For me, when you cut into it, if the bread knife comes out and it doesn't have any, a lot of extra stuff on it, then you've cooked it to the right amount.
Were you successful from the very beginning, or did you have any total fails or partial fails?
So there was a couple times. So I went away to Canada and was gone for a couple weeks. So my sourdough starter in the fridge, I wasn't sure if it had died or not. It had just gone dormant. So what I did to try and resurrect it was I split it, and then I put about a teaspoon, maybe not quite a teaspoon of honey into the one that I keep in the fridge, and then my discard, which I get turned into buns, because they call it discard, but to me that's just what you use. I guess depending how much sourdough you make, you just tailor the amount that you add into your starter to how much you're going to use each time you're going to use it, because a discard to me is what you're actually going to use. But anyway, you have to leave it sit out for a couple days, and you feed it like twice a day. And that resurrected it. It actually took me 1 day to get it resurrected. But that was really the only kind of sort of failure. I think going back to prior to it all, I was given a gluten-free sourdough starter by somebody in town. And I messed it up somehow, and I'm not sure how. I do remember how. So it was a rice flour starter. It was a brown rice flour starter. And I tried to use millet flour at the time, and millet flour didn't work. I tried millet flour, starting it straight from millet flour, that didn't work either. So I had to start with a white rice flour. I'm sure brown would work too, but I used a white rice flour because that's what we had. And then I used sorghum, and the sorghum worked. The millet didn't work. So that was a failure, and that was just because of the millet. And so that's why this is just totally sorghum.
Oh, I thought you said you used half millet, half sorghum. No?
No, if I said that, I didn't mean it.
Oh.
In the bread recipe, I do use millet flour in the bread recipe, not in making the actual sourdough starter.
Okay, it's
but in
just
the bread recipe,
sorghum.
I like using millet flour just to kind of vary it up a little bit, just gives a little different texture.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. And we're just under 10 minutes, so it shouldn't be too hard to listen to.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, and I'll try and watch for questions on when you post this too.
Okay, thank you.